Everyone, it's time to wake up. Highguard's here. Okay, so to give a little bit of context before I really dig into my thoughts as far as my initial reactions go for this video, I am not the biggest PvP guy, but I used to be. At the moment, I really only play Halo or Halo adjacent stuff, but I used to be very big into stuff like Rainbow Six Siege, Apex Legends, and I'm still at heart a Titanfall fanboy. So, obviously, these are former Titanfall Apex developers working on this. I have to give it a shot. So, first thing I did when I joined into this game was I went to the tutorial. I need to learn a new game, and there's no PvE mode, so time to learn the way that the developers want me to. They constantly keep calling me a warden, and my initial thought is, well, what the hell is a warden? The game never explains. There's no intro cutscene or anything to explain the world that we are in, but characters in the world, aka the only character I will refer to as Blisk from Titanfall. He was a really cool villain, I miss him. But you were constantly called a warden, and there's something battle related. This game gives you virtually no story whatsoever. But anyhow, the tutorial does give a heavy emphasis on explaining the core details of the one game mode. Raid, or Siege. I don't think the game can fully decide that, actually. And the best way to describe what a raid is, well, am I the only one here that's played Halo 5's Warzone mode? It's basically this large-scale battle situation where each team has a base, and there's various different procedures that you have to do to attack the enemy base and win the game. And I can definitely see this taking various ideas from that, along with, well, it's 3v3, just like the finals, and just like the finals as well, it's heavy objective focus. And this mode also has, let's say, a Rainbow Six Siege style base defense sequence, and there are various things also related to MOBAs, such as there's a shop system in the game. By doing various activities in the game, you get currency, and you use that to go buy weapons, things of that nature. And also, just like a MOBA, that attack defense base situation that is almost like an ever-present thing. The goal, no matter what, is reach the heart of the enemy base. So hopefully I painted a decent picture, but if I had to give a better, more simple explanation, just think you have two teams. It's 3v3. There's large bases on separate ends of this small open world type zone, and players need to find a sword when it spawns and jam it into the door of the enemy base. So then a large siege tower comes and opens the gate so you can go in and search and destroy, plant bombs, blow up the base. So if it sounds like a bit of a mess, kinda sorta, but it makes a little bit more sense when you actually play it. So as far as the general feeling of the game though, best way I can really describe it is this is almost copy and paste the same movement as Apex Legends, which is not a bad thing, by the way. Yes, it means that it has a little bit less identity, but I mean, Apex feels nice to play. But that being said, that's an early way to get around this small little open world that they force you into, because, I mean, obviously you can do things like sprint and slide, but you also have mounts. These really nice, you basically just have a horse, so mechanically, I mean, that basically means that you get a speed boost and you're hiding, so you can see everything around you, but obviously you're going to be less agile and maneuverable when you're on a horse, and you're essentially a walking easy target for anyone. So, that being said though, and let's move into my first match experience before this 40-minute situation. Yes, my match was generally around, let's say 37 minutes. So, and first impressions are, you need to wait for a sword, and what are you doing during that time? So as I said, 2 teams of 3 people. So, you would expect there would be ways to force engagements. So something what I've noticed is during that initial prep phase, before the sword spawns, you need to go find the sword to unlock the enemy base. You are essentially looting this little open world. And during that loot time, there's no actual incentive for players to fight against each other. Team A is looting one side of this open map. Team B is looting the other side. Like, sure, you can get close to the sword, but there's so much free space or as it's about to spawn and continue looting. So, what are you doing outside of looting? Just looting. Yeah, so there's a lot of dead time. I mean, a lot of dead time, and I feel like there's plenty of easy ways to handle this that other games have implemented. When you look at other, let's say, hero shooter, MOBA adjacent style games, though, the first thing that comes to mind is Gigantic, which has minions despite being a third-person shooter. Actually, plenty of games have done this. Smite is probably one of the most well-known examples. And for the fact that because it shares a lot of elements with MOBAs, there was no reason for there not to be minions unless they just genuinely could not program AI for it, which, judging by the tutorial, actually, yeah, they probably didn't know how to do the AI. Oh boy. Well, another solution though, if they couldn't do that, I would suggest raising the player count. There's so much dead space on the maps. You need to have some ways for players to interact further. That's what adds to the tension of a match. Even if it is a respawn shooter, you don't want to die and lose things that you just equipped it. So, by the way, when you die, there is a respawn time, about 20 seconds, and when you respawn, you lose crappy armor set, and that's the only loot that you can inherently lose as far as I'm aware of. I have not lost any guns or things of that nature when I've died. So, that being said, is this game just a terrible snooze fest? No, because the most fun parts of this game are when you do unlock the enemy base. And then it turns into, let's call it respawn Counter-Strike. So imagine terrorists are constantly just human wave tactics throwing each other at the explosive zones of the map in Counter-Strike, and then the CT team is just constantly mow them down. So it adds a completely separate form of tension. But there's still... It feels a little bit less tense, just because when you attack, you really don't have many lives. While the defending team has infinite respawns, the attacking team has 6 respawns in a shared pool. So if you had to divide that up equally, every attacker has 2 lives before they can respawn. So that makes it so that those attack defense sections last way shorter than they feel like they probably should. Now I can understand it can be very, very tense just having a constant wave of attacks being hit upon you, but after all that dead time, you need something to kind of feel like this big, long impact that's going to make you excited for that next time that you get to attack or defend. So that leads to just really my biggest issue with the game. The game has a lot of fun ideas. I love the idea of mixing extraction mechanics, MOBA mechanics, with almost like a Counter-Strike search and destroy style situation at points. And the devs are very clearly passionate about a lot of their ideas. They had clearly a lot of fun with individual core aspects of these ideas. And I'm sure in playtest, when you play vertical slices, a lot of these concepts feel very fun in a vacuum, but when I really think about them together, it doesn't really mesh fully well. So I don't think this is going to be inherently the next Concord. By the way, I played Concord. Concord also shares a very similar problem with this, being the aesthetics. That's a rant for another day. But as a whole though, this game visually and narratively doesn't have anything for me to feel connected to. I mean, the art direction is in fact, let's call it Overwatch meets Apex Legends meets Paladins meets League of Legends meets Valorant, because not a single thing about the art direction looks like it's original or passion based. So there's that issue, plus the fact that I have no context for this world, but characters, or I should say character, because Mr. Bliss is the only actual character that I've seen in the game outside of player characters. And when it comes to the gameplay, it's a mixed bag. So because it's a mixed bag, it just leaves me with this feeling of, how is this game going to do? I feel like the best course of action for this game would have been to have a series of playtests, figure things out, and then slowly move to a launch. But the way that they've handled it, it almost feels like there was a level of cockiness in the sense that they fully believed people would have really liked this. And I can see why. There's plenty of great components. What I think they really should have done is either added more complexity or more tension in general when it comes to the phase before the attack defense phase. Because most of that, there's zero tension whatsoever. This can be, again, it can be solved by having a higher player count, having some form of a minion enemy that you have to farm loot or things of that nature. Just adds some level of tension where the player's doing more than just looking around these dead areas. Well, hey, at least there's plenty of other fun games to play. Like Freedom Planet 2. That's a really fun game. I feel like Sonic especially. But yeah, that was Highguard. Multiplayer games are in a, let's say, interesting place right now. But I really do have to admire the fact that they were trying some interesting ideas with this one. I would say it really just needs more time in the oven. That being said, that has been a rant.